Welcome to a new episode of Cheaters Always Cheat. Like, subscribe, and share to stay connected.
Almost 4 decades in, 3 kids and 5 young'uns later, and she pulls a fast one on me. I've busted my chops all these years, finally seeing the light of a debt-free life and almost hitting retirement. She feeds me this line about some teaching gig in Arizona, played the good husband, drove her deceitful self to the airport for her return on Thursday. Then a buddy of mine in Sin City for some rodeo thing sends me a snap. There she is, gambling away with our family doc. Christmas is round the corner, and I've been waiting to bond over a hunt with my boy and the grandkids. Now I'm torn. Go ballistic or keep my cool for the holidays. Part of me thinks, maybe play dumb, pick her up, see what else I can dig up. Not sure I've got the stomach for it, though. But blowing this up would break the kids, and that's the last thing I want. And to think she was belting out hymns on Sunday and then flying off to get cozy with the doc on Monday. I never once thought she was cheating in all the 40 years we've been together. Seriously, never even crossed my mind. The life I felt so safe in seems to be crumbling now. It's a good thing my folks aren't around to witness this mess. I might just hop on a flight tomorrow and track them down, though they'd probably be using different names. The crazy thing is, my 2 brothers are gone, and there's nobody I can spill this junk to. Maybe a pastor could listen. Heck, she's likely fooling around with him to stay current. Big thanks to everyone for backing me up. Over the past few days, I got tons of messages wanting updates. Got some solid advice too, which let me vent when I'm pretending everything's fine. Here's how it's been going down. 1, I took some time off work, and I'm at my cabin. 2, my wife's sister grabbed her from the airport on Thursday night. 3, I hired a lawyer and a private investigator that the lawyer suggested. 4, I haven't talked to my wife about those Vegas photos, and only my lawyers know about them. 5, she thinks I'm at the cabin to hunt this big buck I've been after for a couple of years, caught on my trail cameras. 6, we've chatted on the phone and texted like normal, nothing suspicious. Meanwhile, I've started digging into her trip and her life. Every time we talk, it ends with, "I love you," just like always. Here's number 7. I've been doing what my lawyer said about our money situation. Moving on to 8. The PI already told me he's confirmed she's been having an affair with the doctor for over a year. We'll find out the exact duration later on. Now 9. She didn't go to that conference in Arizona. Nope, she spent every single night she was away in Vegas. My plan is to face her once the PI wraps up his investigation. We're betting they'll meet up since I'm out of town. I'm gonna give them plenty of chances to chat before I come back. Didn't know most affairs happen in the 55 to 70 age group. I believed we had a rock-solid marriage. She seemed happy with where we were in life, and I truly thought she loved me the way I loved her. Wholeheartedly. I loved her with everything I had. It's all just so unbelievable. Each day, I'm finding out things I never even thought of. Right now, I just want to figure out how many years of my life have been built on lies and why our life together wasn't enough. Why wasn't I enough? Why weren't our kids and grandkids enough? She's a stunning woman inside and out, I used to think. But now, it's clear. I'm gonna end things with a divorce. No way back to making things right. I'm not exactly sure how extreme I'll go in taking action. I'm super mad at both of them. I plan to confront the doctor and his wife together. As of now, I can't say for certain what else I'll do. I think I have to take it step by step. The first move is to gather as much info as I can before they can get their stories straight. He might just be the most recent in a line of others. Update 2. Heading back home tonight. My mother-in-law is 84 and has been alone for 12 years after her husband passed. This cheating bombshell will hit her hard. My wife's got 3 married sisters who've all been in long-term relationships. They're all coming to our place for Christmas tomorrow night. Every Christmas since my father-in-law passed away, I've been grilling steaks for them. Skipping it might make her suspicious. I thought about faking the flu and staying here, but I opted to just head home. Not going back could mess up the plan to return with my son and grandsons. I haven't confronted her yet. We've talked a bit, but mostly through texts. I'm pretty sure she has no clue right now. I gave the gate and house code to the private investigator. He brought an IT guy and managed to access her computer while she was at work. Somehow he's now getting her texts from iCloud. I'm not in touch with the PI or the lawyer daily. No idea what info he's dug up. Got a meeting scheduled with him and my attorney next Friday morning, a week from tomorrow. It's tough enough for me to hold back my anger with what I know now. Seems like I'm spending more than needed on the PI. The lawyer wants me to keep gathering evidence till I confront her. I plan to get whatever he's got next week and hopefully cut down on the payments. I usually go to my cabin the week before and after Christmas. If I can manage to hold off, she won't suspect a thing until I get back home. Heading out again on Sunday. My son and grandsons are set for a hunting trip the week before Christmas, like we do every year. Haven't laid eyes on her in almost 2 weeks. Never thought the love I had for her could turn into so much hate and disdain. The plan is to wrap up the evidence I gather next Friday after Christmas lunch. We'll be exchanging gifts with our kids and grandkids. I'll make sure she opens hers last. I'll ask her to share it with our children, then I'll take her phone and split. Next on the list is the doctor's place. I'll hand over the evidence to his wife and family. After that, I'm going to initiate a divorce on grounds of adultery. Thanks for giving me a space to share my story in real time. It's the only way I can let it out at this point. Let's see what the community has to say. Update. I made it back home from the cabin last Thursday evening. She was already there. I was dead tired from not getting any sleep, and our talk was pretty brief. On Friday night, we hosted a Christmas gathering at her place with her mom and 3 sisters. Managed to pull that off without raising suspicions. Saturday kept me out for most of the day, and after church on Sunday, I headed back to my camp. Met up with my son and oldest grandson there on Sunday night. We spent the whole week hunting, and now I'm back home tonight. Nothing planned for tomorrow. Our kids and grandkids will go to church with us on Sunday, and then they'll swing by here for Christmas lunch and gifts. I've been keeping my emotions in check. Nobody's suspected a thing given the huge situation I'm in. Have you ever thought about how I'm gonna let her secret affair out? Well, I won't be confronting her on Christmas. I've got a meeting with my lawyer on Tuesday morning. My plan is to gather all the evidence he and the investigator have collected, plus the divorce papers he's prepared. I want to get my son and my 2 daughters to come over for a family meeting and drop the bomb about her affair on them, all while confronting her at the same time. Planning on doing that Tuesday night. Not totally sure yet about how I'll face the doctor and his wife, but my aim is to wreck his reputation and career using any means I can. Appreciate the support messages. Here's update number 4. We got through Christmas with my kids, grandkids, and in-laws. Come Monday morning, I went to see my pastor and laid out the situation. He arranged a meeting with me and the partner's wife. We decided to tackle this on Monday night, making them write detailed letters about the affair. I didn't let my wife say anything. I told her I knew she was in Vegas and who she was with. Instructed her to write the detailed letter, and if any contradictions popped up with the evidence I had, then reconciliation was out of the question. Tuesday morning, I met with the lawyer, got evidence, and received legal advice. Tuesday afternoon, I met the affair partner's employer and demanded they fire him. That got done today. Tuesday evening, my kids showed up, and their mom told them about what she'd done. They're in shock and hurting. My wife went back home with my daughter and she's still there. Right now, I'm figuring out the best way to proceed. Reconciliation isn't in sight. Once I'm sure about what to do with my own marriage, I'll decide how to deal with the affair partner. She came clean about everything and answered all the specific questions I asked in her letter. Thanks for the good wishes. Talking about the update, I'll try to cover your questions. Did you ask her why? Yeah, I did ask why. Her response was that she didn't really know why. She opened up to me and the kids, saying she felt like she was hooked on something. She recognized she was ruining her own life but couldn't bring herself to stop. She confessed to our children, saying no child should ever face the disappointment or shame of their mother's immorality. They didn't deserve the disgrace of that kind of behavior. I won't repeat all the things she said to me, because I'm not sure how much of it matches up with her actions. She shattered, full of regret and pleading for forgiveness from both me and the kids. She truly grasps the gravity of her actions. 3. How did the kids react? One of them confronted her and the other 2 agreed with the sentiment. They told her that facing death would have been easier than dealing with this situation. 4. Do I still want to be married? Absolutely. I do. That's why I never strayed from my commitment to my wife. 5. Did I meet the affair partner's wife and inform her? Yes. We met twice and communicated through phone calls and texts multiple times. 6. Did I not consider his family when I got him fired? My concern goes more towards the next patient's wife he might take advantage of. 7. Am I planning on divorcing her? To be honest, I'm not sure about that. Number 8. Have I tried therapy? Not at the moment. What I'm really looking for is for all of this to somehow disappear. If you happen to know someone who can magically make that happen, I'd give therapy a shot. I can tell you that every situation comes with its own unique mix of factors, personalities, and complications. The way I would have handled this would probably be different if it were a different phase of my life. It's so simple to figure things out when you're typing away at a keyboard. Some folks here act like they're experts, but their advice isn't all that practical. Some of the comments are made without really understanding the whole picture. The subtleties I'm grappling with have been a source of strength, actually. There's one Redditor who's been a real goldmine of wisdom, knowledge, and encouragement. He's given me more help than I could ever properly thank him for. Funny how I've connected so deeply with an anonymous stranger. That's about all the questions I recall. But I'm gonna check out some subreddits for a bit, so feel free to ask whatever's on your mind. It's not like I've got to spend quality time with my wife. She's not even here. Oh, by the way, you might wonder why she's at my daughter's instead of with her own family. Well, her dad's passed away, and her mom's 84. I didn't want her mom dealing with all this nonsense. She is at my baby daughter and her husband's home. They have no children yet. The chance of her turning any of my children against me does not exist. But that is especially true of this little Spitfire. She is 10 years younger than her sister, and 12 years than her brother. She has spent more hours in a Deer Stand Bay boat office truck with me than we could even begin to count. She won't even let her say the true things that are bad about me, much less lies. Weekend update plans. I had a brother who was a good 14 years younger than me. He worked as a college professor and lived about 8.5 hours away from our hometown. Sadly, he passed away in a motorcycle accident back in 2017. He left behind a daughter, now 24, who's married and living in a different state from her mother. But she's brought her new baby to visit her mom and in-laws. My sister-in-law has stayed single since. Last night, I gave my sister-in-law a call to find out when my niece was heading back home. Turns out, she's spending the week with her husband's parents, who live about 40 minutes from my sister-in-law. My kids are crowding me, so I've decided to hit the road. I'm off on a road trip to meet my great-nephew, who's actually named after both my brother and me. I'll be getting in late tonight. I asked her to book me a hotel room, and she just shot back, "No way in hell that's happening. You're staying here, and we're gonna watch movies and munch on ice cream." I don't know exactly when I'll be back. As for my wife, I haven't talked to, seen, or contacted her since Tuesday night. I went ahead and blocked her number. I gave my son a call and told him where I'm headed. Also asked him to swing by the office and sort out leasing a rental property. The company owns it, a house that tenants moved out of. It's been completely fixed up with the idea of selling it. I told him to let his mom know to grab what she needs from our house and move into the rental. She'll have to pay rent to my son, who'll then pay my company. Got a new keypad going in on the gates and doors of my house next Wednesday, so she better get her stuff now. It's the right time to do it. Update. Had a good weekend. When I talked to my sister-in-law, I mentioned that I'd be making the trip solo to see my niece and her new baby. She questioned why my wife wasn't coming, and I just told her there were some issues and I'd fill her in when I arrived. I made it here around midnight and she had just taken a fresh pound cake out of the oven. It was hands down the best thing I've had to eat in weeks. I shared all the ins and outs of my situation with her. A tear or two welled up, but as I laid it all out for her, I eventually broke down and cried. She offered a lot of support, and we shared a moment of tears together. She comforted my bruised ego, and I guess I felt somewhat better after our talk. I went up to bed around 3 o'clock yesterday morning. When I got up yesterday, she whipped up bacon and eggs for breakfast. As I ate, she gave it to me straight. While I might call the shots back home, I don't run the show at her place. Then she laid out my plans for the day. I had a haircut scheduled at 1 o'clock. I was due for one even before all this happened, so I went along with it. After the haircut, we were hitting up Dillard's to snag some clothes that actually fit me. I've shed over 30 pounds in the past 3 weeks. Last night, I was planning to tag along with her to a friend's place. They were having a bonfire and fireworks going on for a bit. Today, the plan was for me to go to church with her, and later she'd head over to visit her parents. For supper, she's cooking, and her daughter and son-in-law are coming over to eat and hang out. Her son-in-law is setting up a deer hunting trip for me tomorrow, hunting with dogs on an 8,000-acre timber lease he's part of. He's got the whole week off, and he mentioned I could stay and hunt as long as I wanted. Plus, she's taking care of my laundry and meals. I've never done this kind of hunting before, so I'm not sure what to expect. We agreed we won't talk about my issues again until I'm ready to head home, so I followed her lead. She came along with me to her regular salon. On the way there, she told me, "I'm gonna have some fun with you when I introduce you." She said she'd use my first and middle name. I was like, "What's that about?" She just laughed and said, "Just go with it. I'm gonna stir up some gossip among these folks." My middle name is my mom's maiden name, and that's how she introduced me to her hairstylist while I got my hair cut. The stylist asked where I was from, and I said Detroit. No way my accent's gonna pass for Detroit. My sister-in-law didn't miss a beat and said, "He's a real logger." Our next stop was Dillard's. I haven't done any shopping in years. Ended up getting 3 new pairs of pants, 4 shirts, 2 sets of shoes, and a tie. Can you believe they charged me $75 for just a tie? And then there's that Hart Schaffner Mark suit. She told me it was the only kind of suit my brother would wear. Had no clue he was so picky about clothes. Grabbed a new belt too. The suit needed some adjustments, and she managed to convince them to do it while we waited. On the ride back, she mentioned I was going to be her partner at the church party, so that's what I did. She told me to give her a look like I'm eyeing up a new gun, so they'd buy it. I went along with her, except for the party. I claimed I was from Atlanta, selling road graders, and had been married and divorced 4 times. At church this morning, we got there late and left early, because she wasn't aiming to get zapped by lightning for fibbing in church. She sat real close to me, holding my hand, and we walked out together. I've been having a grand old time looking like a character from Dumb and Dumber alongside my 46-year-old sister-in-law. She's been cracking jokes the whole way, and I've genuinely laughed. Haven't done that in 3 weeks. Tomorrow's hunting day, and I might stick around till Wednesday, but gotta be back to work on Friday. I've chatted with my son a couple of times. He's of the opinion that they should try to get her some medical assistance. Apparently, she's not opening up much and mostly stays cooped up in her bedroom over at my daughter's place. Her phone's often dead, and my son and other daughter talk to her through my youngest. The other woman in the affair, her partner's wife, sent her a super long text where she practically threw every insult at her except the kitchen sink. As for me, I haven't had any communication with my wife. She asked where I was, and she told my daughter that she knows I'll never be able to forgive her. She doesn't blame me for not forgiving my son either. According to my daughter, she looks like she's been through hell. I still don't see a clear path to patch things up between us. But I've decided not to file for divorce until I'm absolutely certain. Some folks have suggested that I file for divorce and then backtrack if I change my mind. But that just feels like a massive waste of time, energy, and money. Once I make up my mind about divorce, that'll be it. No going back. I'm not planning on suing her affair partner unless I go for a divorce. If that's the route I take, then I'll go after him to help cover the costs of the settlement. Otherwise, I don't want his money. I've come to terms with the fact that this mess won't get sorted out soon, and life as I know it is forever changed. Started writing a journal today. Figured it helps to put my thoughts in order by jotting them down. Once again, a big thanks for your encouragement. It's been a real boost for me. Update. My wife's in the hospital now. Yesterday morning, my daughter took her to the ER. Seems she was seriously dehydrated. Test didn't look too good for her kidney function. She was acting a bit confused. So, they got her set up with an IV, and they'll be redoing some lab work today. They've also put in an order for a psychological evaluation. Word is, she'll likely be stuck in the hospital for most of the week. My son got in touch with her sisters and gave them the heads up about her hospitalization. I told them I was out of town. As far as I know, her sisters and mom have no clue about her affair. This weekend, I'm planning on having a heart-to-heart with her mom and older sister. In hindsight, should have probably done that this past Friday before I split town. So, spark plug, I'm still crashing at my sister-in-law's pad. I went hunting yesterday, but it's raining today, so I decided against heading out this morning. Last night, we chowed down on fried steak, mashed potatoes and gravy, some homemade biscuits, and topped it all off with apple cobbler and ice cream. She's got a few things to do this morning, but she's already given me a heads up to be dressed when she gets back, ready for some wandering about, whatever that means. I told her rainy days are good for a couple of things and I ain't feeling sleepy. She shot back that our kids don't need both their folks in the hospital due to dehydration. So I'm setting off for a little stroll, I suppose. I'm actually kind of glad to be here. Talking to my buddies or dealing with work doesn't really appeal to me right now. Got my laptop, my phone, and my trusty coworker who's been by my side for 25 years. So business is ticking along as usual. He's clued in about the affair cause he was the one who tipped me off about that trip to Vegas. Sharing my thoughts on Reddit has been a real help for me in sorting through everything. I know you might be getting a bit weary of my posts though. I've started writing a journal, so I can just pour my thoughts out there if you're done with my story. Still, thanks a bunch for all your messages. Many of them have really gotten me thinking and provided some guidance. My head's in a better place than it's been since I got that text with her and the affair partner, And a big part of that's because of you. Onto her sister. Gave her a call and gave her the lowdown on the affair and what led to my wife being in the hospital. She was seriously taken aback, and she kept saying how sorry she was and how she felt for me. My mother-in-law's taking off tomorrow on a trip with 3 other widowed friends. They're all buddies with my daughters, forming what they jokingly call the BCH gang, or blue-haired hoes. They're into bus tours. She told me she wasn't planning on letting her in on the affair or the psych evaluation, just that my wife's condition wasn't dire enough for me to cut my trip short and come back home. It wasn't really necessary for me to show up. At the moment, she's saying my mother-in-law got all worked up when they left my place. Seems I didn't look myself and seemed pretty troubled. Her sisters are going to pitch in and assist my daughters and daughter-in-law during her hospital stay. One of them's going to take her home with them until she's well enough to be on her own at her house. Rang up my youngest and told her to swing by the office and pick up a check. She can cash it, grab a card, and drop it by her grandma's place. Got a name stamp at the office she can use to sign the card and slip in a note wishing her a great trip. Oh, and I made sure to tell her I love her too. So, once again, Reddit comes through. Picked up on something I hadn't even thought about doing. Wife's condition update. My wife's kidney function is looking better now. However, based on the psychiatric evaluation, she's gone through a psychotic break. She's all mixed up about where she is, thinking we were in some car crash and that I'm no more. She's really distressed. Apparently, my supposed funeral already took place without her. She's in tears, muttering stuff nobody can quite make out. Tonight, they moved her to a specialized hospital for mental trauma cases. They reckon she'll be back to herself in a few days or weeks. For the next 10 days, she's not allowed any contact with anyone. My middle daughter's taking on the job of being the point of contact for afternoon updates till she can have visitors. What an absolute unnecessary mess this whole situation's become. I'm still over at Sparky's place, and she set me up with a 9:30 a.m. appointment tomorrow to see a shrink she used to visit for a couple of years after my brother's tragic death. I headed up to grab a shower, and when I was getting back into my PJs downstairs, I realized all my trusty white Fruit of the Loom boxers were nowhere to be found. They'd been swapped out with boxer briefs from Duluth Trading Company. The waistband on each of them reads, "Go Buck Naked." These bad boys come in red, black, neon blue, maroon, and different shades of gray. I asked her about it, and she goes, "The 60s called, they want those ugly drawers back." And she added that the boys need some room to breathe. Update. You can find my previous posts on my profile page. I got back home on Thursday night. I had appointments that morning with the psychologist my sister-in-law used when her husband, my brother, passed away. The meeting didn't go well. To be fair to the counselor, I wasn't really up for it, and I was pretty angry at the time. Talking about the details of my wife's affair was really uncomfortable for me. Had to head to work on Friday for a meeting about a contract addendum. Needed my presence and signature on a modified agreement. On Friday afternoon, I met up with my kids to discuss their mom's situation. The clinician asked us to come up with a discharge plan to help with her treatment preparation. I stood my ground. She can't come back home to live, so they should get her ready to move into a rental place. Today's update on her status showed some positive progress she made over the weekend. They're also planning sessions with her family as early as the end of this week. I told my kids I won't be joining any of those family sessions. I made it clear to them that her recovery isn't my responsibility and I won't be a part of it. They might not fully agree with my stance, but that's how I'm handling it. I did agree not to file for divorce in the next 6 months. Went to church on Sunday and sat in our usual spot, the one we've occupied for almost 40 years. None of the affair partner's family showed up, and I didn't bother asking my pastor about their status because frankly, I don't care. Met up this afternoon with a psychologist recommended by my pastor. It was a worthwhile meeting. He's 74 years old in my book, working part-time from an office behind his house. He laid out his goals for our sessions, and I agreed to follow each step he suggested. I find him likable and at ease with. We settled on meeting every week. Got a state medical board examiner's office investigator coming over to my office on Wednesday morning. This comes after a complaint from my attorney against the affair partner. I'll have to give a sworn deposition regarding the affair. Every step I'm taking due to her affair irks me. I don't think she's pretending a mental breakdown, but it's hard for me to feel sympathetic. I think you're pretty caught up now. Here's an update. I haven't posted lately because not much has unfolded. Let me sum it up briefly. My wife is still in treatment and has agreed to stay there for 30 days. She's improving, but my kids and I agree that she needs more in-house treatment. Haven't directly spoken to her since December 27th. She tapped into her retirement account to cover the expenses. Yet to sit down with my mother-in-law. She and her daughters visited my wife. I sent her a text that I'd talk when I'm ready. She's called a few times to check on me. She's sad but holding up. No update on the prayer partner, but his house is up for sale. Don't know if they're apart or together. I've had 2 counseling sessions and I'm kind of looking forward to the Monday meeting. It's been helpful. The affair gossip is spreading like wildfire. I still go to church and hold my head high, even though her actions are mortifying. My kids and grandkids are all right. Keeping busy at work plus managing my son's re-election campaign keeps me occupied. Lately I'm noticing attractive women more than ever. Not sure if it's good or bad, just more noticeable. Think that covers it. Final update. My wife left the hospital on Tuesday and headed to a rental property owned by my company. It's an old house but got a complete renovation. Still haven't spoken to her since December 27th. She wrote 2 letters expressing remorse and seeking my forgiveness. I haven't replied, except telling my kids that I've read her letters and will talk when I'm ready to discuss our past and future. We've had a housekeeper with my wife for 20+ years. With my daughter and the housekeeper, we've set up a comfy place for my wife in my house, moving furniture under their guidance. They've even bought new furniture for her, all ready for over a week. She's arranged for the housekeeper to be there daily as needed, providing a driver and company. Her sisters stay overnight as long as needed. Had dinner at my mother-in-law's on Tuesday, shared my stance. She understood and backed me up. My son says his grandma visited his mom last night and wasn't too sympathetic. Seems she was pretty upfront about my wife's betrayal. First time they talked about it. Going to Sparky's tomorrow, got concert tickets for Saturday. She and a friend were going, but her friend can't make it due to a coworker's funeral on Saturday. Tomorrow afternoon, we're catching a flight to North Carolina and heading back on Sunday afternoon. It's a change of pace I'm eager for, hoping I'll find some enjoyment. Surprisingly, I'm finding counseling to be beneficial, and I'm genuinely anticipating those weekly sessions. It's like putting the different parts of my life in their own boxes.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and click on the little bell icon for notifications of new stories.